10 years ago I thought I had the perfect life. Upper six-figure job, beautiful wife, clean house, 2 new cars, and a child on the way. My job made me happy and I was good at it, and the stability was great. My wife loved me for me and ignored my flaws as I tried to perfect them. In return, I adored her and we seemed to be the perfect couple. People would always compliment us, and talk about how envious they were of our relationship and everything. It kept getting better. I kept getting promotions, the kids, now 3, were born, and we eventually moved from an ordinary house to an incredibly nice one. My wife was doing very well in her career, optometrist, and we took fun vacations every year. Again, I thought I had it made. I don't know how this would have prompted it, but in early 2015, I bought her a Tesla, for her birthday. She hadn't gotten a new car since 2008, and I kept getting new cars, therefore I surprised her. She loved it, loved me, and I remember spending that entire day just taking rides in it and figuring out how all of the gadgets and icons worked. It was complete downhill from there. I don't know how that would have triggered anything, but in the months following, she became increasingly distant from not only me, but our children. My oldest, 10, F, in particular, felt hurt by this and would often try to ensue conversations with her mother, in order to get her talking. Some days this would work and she would be pleasant, others it would have the opposite effect. The first time I suspected that I was no longer her man of choice was in July 2016 when I noticed she was no longer going to yoga classes, but telling me she was. We were on the same phone plan, and part of that plan was we could see our locations of our phones. I was routinely browsing the app one day, and noticed she appeared to be at someone's house. Since she had been irrationally angry the day prior to leaving, I didn't question her about it when she got home from yoga. Instead, I chose to closely observe where she went during her yoga times. It would always seem to end up at the same house, a well-off neighborhood, probably a step above ours, a little north of town. I was getting ready to confront her when I noticed that she had been returning to yoga again. During this period, she became incredibly distant and hormonal. My entire family had noticed this behavior going on for over a year now, but I had had enough. I sat her down and asked her what was going on. She gave me the cold shoulder, and when I questioned her about the yoga locations, she accused me of stalking, invading privacy, and being a grade A dick. That's when I asked her, "Are you cheating on me?" Of course, the answer was no. What followed in the weeks to come was distrust, hatred, and plain anger towards me. It was clear she knew I had caught on, and was now trying to play the "I can't believe you'd think this" victim card. But I knew. I saw through it all. When she finally admitted she had seen and slept with another man, that's when I made my mistake. I forgave her. She told me she loved me, she loved our family, and in that moment, I believed her. I thought she could change. I was wrong. We tried marriage therapy. We tried taking adult days. It seemed to work. We were happy, and she was genuinely having fun, and it seemed like I had the older back. I was relieved. This allowed me to pour more time into my kids and my work, and have less stress overall. My business trip to San Diego, I live on the East Coast, USA, was cut short when my colleague fell ill, and our clients insisted that we reschedule. It was a hassle, but we caught the next flight out, and returned home. I'm not sure why I didn't tell her I was coming home, but I just didn't. Maybe I wanted it to be a surprise? The only surprise I received when I pulled into the driveway was seeing a Ford SUV in my garage, and finding not one, but 2 men in my bed. With my wife. This all happened yesterday. I'm finally putting it into words. My wife started babbling when it happened, desperately trying to explain. I heard none of it. I walked out of my room, went to the basement, and poured myself a drink. I could hear the men upstairs leaving, and when I returned upstairs, it was my wife sitting there, clothed, with a sad smile on her face. She started talking, but I wouldn't have it. I told her to get out. I told her to get out of my house. I informed her that I'd get her stuff to her by the end of the week. She tried to pull the "what about the kids" bullshit, but I was just done. I'm sad, but not for her. I'm sad for my kids, and I'm sad for whatever poor soul she meets next. I will fight hard for my kids, but my biggest fear is losing them. I know the court will rule incredibly in favor of mothers. I hope they realize that I've spent the last 3 years doing my best to mend a broken marriage for my family, and nothing has worked. I told my kids this morning. They asked why Mom didn't spend the night last night. I didn't make them go to school today, they're all upstairs together. This whole situation is terrible for everyone involved, and it could have been completely preventable. I don't pity my wife. I hope that she has one label for the rest of her life: cheater. I want it to follow her. I want people to know. She is a prominent optometrist in our area. This could very well hurt her business if word spreads, which it very well may. Thank you all for listening. If you have undergone something similar, I'd love to chat. Edit, what a wave of support. Wow. I will try and get back to all of your comments, please forgive me if I do not. This makes me feel a lot better. I've never been gilded before. Comment 1. It's one thing that she cheated on you, but the other is the notion of what drove her to do what she did. She obviously sought to fill some kind of void that perhaps you didn't fill. From the context you've given us, there was a big focus on money, material possessions, and work, and even more work. I'm not trying to pull away from your grief, but maybe she yearned for attention that wasn't provided to her. Again, not sure of the dynamics of the relationship, but every action has a reaction and a core cause. Look to that. Regardless of what the issue may have been, keep your head up and keep strong. My heart sunk as I read the two men part. I figured the SUV may have been the one guy she had been seeing. Duck. Comment 2. Fuck her. Also talk to any of your couple friends with females that hang out with her somewhat regularly. Specifically talk to the guys, and let them know what's up because she might not have planned this alone. There might have been another women she sees regularly that either encouraged her behavior, planned to cover for her, or at least suspected it. I find it hard to believe that she would go from cheating, to I'm sorry, to getting doubled up without someone knowing something. Especially another woman in her social circle, I'd venture a guess that they would at the least suspect something, and they decided to some degree to keep it either amongst themselves, other women in the group, or maybe to tell their significant other and instructed him not to say anything. Try to remember if any of the guys in your couples group seemed a bit more sympathetic than usual, maybe offering to buy you a drink when you're all out, or perhaps the women in the group seemed incapable of looking you in the eyes or seemed a little shifty/guilty. Comment 3. That is absolutely horrible and I'm sorry you had to go through this. You're right to do what you did. My dad was treated probably worse by my mom and he decided to keep her multiple times. Probably because of the costs associated with giving her the boot. But in terms of your kids, you did the right thing. My mom brought over strange men and even married fathers of my own childhood friends frequently when I was a kid. She even took us on what I realized later in life were dates with these guys when she was in her mind separated from my dad, which seemed like a 3-time per year thing, and as a child it was extremely awkward feeling. My dad was a firefighter and worked hard. As an adult, piecing together the events and what was really going on had a traumatic effect on me. I can hardly stomach my mother today for how she has acted all her life. Even now, in her late 50s/early 60s, she has a third husband, probably a billion boyfriends, and still acts like an entitled 20-something. She's been attractive literally all her life, which is why she gets men to bend over backward for her, never been punished for ducking around in her marriages and royally ducking up her family, and was only rewarded by the courts. She lives in the absolute lap of luxury despite never working a day in her life and impulse buys luxury homes, luxury cars and SUVs, RVs, vacations, and gambles probably 3-5K/mo. Her entire adult life has been what I would consider a 24/7 luxury vacation on steroids, wet dream, and for whatever reason, still finds reasons to melt down, act out and treat everyone around her like absolute trash. Granted, she had a shit childhood from what I could tell. But that's due to being raised by a single mother prior to social assistance. But that's another story. Point being, you made the better decision for your kids. Unfortunately, I think your ex is going to clean you out and take the house, and get primary custody of your kids. At least you acknowledged her wrongdoing, and your kids will see what's going on and respect you for it and probably resent her. Lastly, I don't know what's worse, getting cut down by divorce like that after achieving so much professional success, or getting cut down right out of the gate like I did 8 years ago. My ex filed for divorce when I left the military, got the kids, 45% of my net income, and married a guy who didn't work for 7 years. He only recently got a job, but after combining their 2 low-level wages with 45% of my 100K/year job, they're doing incredible. I live barely above the poverty line after going through several furloughs with my job and going into child support arrears heavily, where the support agency then takes 65% of your after-tax net income to make up for it. 100,000 plus year job, and best I can do is a studio apartment for 20 years. It's ruined my life after only a 3-year marriage and 2 kids. It happens to most of us though, man. Best of luck. Thanks you for watching Everyday New Movies. See you soon.